أيا طالب العلم قم لا تنم فإن الزمان
أيا طالب
أحسن الله إليك يا Sheikh. The question is as follows. Do I need to obey my husband's parents? And what are my obligations towards them? Can they interfere in our marital life?
She doesn't have obligations, except she has the obligations to the husband. But this is a commonplace scenario where a woman who's living with the husband comes out and says, "Oh, I've got no obligations to help your mother or your father or whatnot." So what the Shar of Allah Azza wa Jal says, it says, and what the fuqaha have said, they've said when a man marries the wife, then he's to provide accommodation for her away from her family and his family. And then they cite a hadith that everybody from the husband's family is a non-mahram to her except for the one who is so young that they can't be tempted by it. And then the mother and the father-in-law, they don't fall into this category. Of course, they're the maharim of the wife. So she doesn't have to cook and clean for them. Of course not. She doesn't have to. But if this is something that makes the husband pleased, if this is gonna help, Allah Azza wa Jal says, aid one another in al-birr wa taqwa. So this is part of birr, part of good relations. And it's a give and go scenario where the wife should do what she can and the husband should try and do what he can. And again, it goes back to the custom of the people. It's very difficult to find someone who, and I'm going to use this as an example, to find a revert, for example, and that revert understands how Pakistanis or Indians live, because to them it's foreign, or how the Turkish people live. To them this is foreign. This is a foreign concept. They turn 18. Once they turn 18, they leave home, and then once the mother and the father turn 50 or 60, they end up in a nursing home somewhere or some retirement community. This is normal for them. So to put them in this sort of scenario becomes an issue, because then they're not used to it. And then they read any hadith, any book of hadith, and they say, oh look, the wife has so many rights, which she does, subhanAllah. And then of course they start to cause an issue. And then if the mother-in-law or the father-in-law or the husband even expects the wife to do some cleaning or vacuuming or whatnot, and she doesn't, it causes an issue amongst them then. So the whole solution lies in helping one another in al-birr wa taqwa. So if someone fears Allah Azza wa Jal, if someone loves their husband, if someone wants to help another Muslim, there's so many different interconnecting relationships here that are important. But she does not have to do that. Again, she does not have to do that. She is to be provided for. So Ibn Hazm says in his Muhalla, he says the husband is to provide for the wife, so she is sheltered from the heat and the cold. And then others expanded on this. They said, okay, well, does that mean just a roof over her head? And others said, no, well, then she must also have access to cooking facilities, so a kitchen. And she also must have access to a bathroom, so a bathroom. So if he is living with his parents, but he provides his wife, and him and his wife have a separate room, so they're not all sleeping in one room, then this is sufficient. This is what's expected. If he can find a unit and they can live on their own and they can afford it, but he can still maintain that relationship with his parents, then he can do that also. Again, it's all about coming together and understanding what's necessary. And this would all depend on the age of the parents, etc. So as I said, it's a common question which needs specific answers. So each case needs to be looked at specifically to get a specific ruling. So what I mentioned is just the general guidelines when it comes to marriage, and when it comes to providing for the wife, and when it comes to this whole in-laws relationship thing. And as I said, so again, it's going to depend on the culture and on the people and how they've been brought up. in many 90% of the cases you don't get this doesn't even come across as a question, because people are just used to helping out the elderly, helping out the people, helping out whatnot. So